Ohio State is officially 3-0, headed into its first bye week, and as we do every single week, we grade Julian Sayin after the Buckeyes' 37-9 win over Ohio. This is the least amount of points they've scored against a MAC opponent since Ryan Day took over as the head coach. They reached at least 52 in every other game, by the way. But still, Julian Sayin, 25 of 32 for 347, 3 touchdowns. He had 2 interceptions, and he got sacked for the first time in his career. Starting with you, Stefan, what's your grade for QB1?
Yeah, give him a B+. I think obviously the 2 interceptions is going to pop off the off the box score a bit. The second one, I don't know how much I blame him. And as you were saying before we started recording, maybe that ends up being ruled a fumble as they kind of go back and look at the stats. The first one I think was kind of just him being a bit overzealous and maybe a young quarterback thinking he could do more than he needed to do in that situation. So I give him a B+ because otherwise I thought he was pretty accurate on some of the deep balls. Ryan Day talked about. Maybe a little bit off on the timing here, a little bit off on the timing there, but overall, he put the ball in spots where only his guys were going to be able to catch it. There were even some, incompletions that you kind of were scratching your head being like, that's not typical Julian Sayin accuracy. And then you watch the replay, you're like, oh, he still put that in a spot where only his receiver was going to be able to catch it. Even, there was one that he way overthrew Jeremiah Smith, and you're watching, you're like, yeah, but he put that in a spot where otherwise it could have been picked off. In this situation, it's going to be Jeremiah Smith or it's going to be an incompletion. Again, it feels like time and time again we're talking about how he's minimizing what the damage is going to be, what it could be on any given play. And right now, that's what you need. When you have receivers like this and weapons like this, and there's so much this offense can do, Julian Sayin doesn't need to be Superman. He just needs to be smart, right? And that doesn't mean game manager. I know there's some kind of negative connotations that come with that, but he has the accuracy and the arm talent where if he's smart, he's going to make spectacular plays look routine. And that's what Julian Sayin is. So I give him a B+ for his performance. I thought overall it was pretty good. And going into the bye week now and going into their Big Ten opener against Washington in a couple weeks, he has a pretty good case to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten, and then maybe in a few weeks we can start talking about more, because if he has a breakout game against the Washington, if he does something on a big stage, right, because right now his biggest win is that win against Texas, massive win, but it's not something you point to, you say that's a Heisman type game for him, right? But he had good performances against Grambling State, against Ohio, and now against Big Ten opponents, he can kind of start to have some of those moments, and we're talking about him being a great quarterback outside of just the Big Ten realm.
So B+?
Yeah.
Okay. Andrew, what's in the grade book, week 3?
I'm also at a B+. It was the best of times. It was you're starting a first-year quarterback of times. There were moments that you saw Julian Sayin and you go, whew, that was impressive. And you look at the deep ball to Carnell Tate, really, really good. You look at some of the layered throws he made, really, really good. I thought, the highs were roller coaster Cedar Point high. They were very, very good. Then you see some moments where it wasn't necessarily bad, but that's a first-time quarterback taking his lumps. That's a first-year starting quarterback taking a lump that, hey, he got sacked right behind where this camera is at the 9-yard line on their first drive when OU stopped him in the red zone. He had C.J. Donaldson wide open in the flat, and if you don't kind of lock onto a target, Ohio State's up 7-0. Maybe they get the ball rolling, maybe they're a little bit more rhythm in the red zone as the game goes on. Who knows? But there were moments like that. There was another play down there, I think, where they settled for a field goal where Innis was wide open, and the interception where you mentioned a little bit overzealous. There were moments where you say, you know what? It wasn't like, oh man, he just straight up missed the guy. I think there was a throw near midfield where he just kind of sorted it. You had Jeremiah in the corner, he just kind of sorted it. There were plays where he wasn't on his, P's and Q's, he wasn't his best. But for the most part, there was a lot of good to like, and there were a lot of moments that weren't, oh man, that's not fixable, or oh man, that's an issue. It was, he's going to improve. It just, maybe Julian Sayin, whatever day they play Purdue, November 8th or whatever day that is, maybe he doesn't make that same mistake on November 8th. I think there were a lot of those moments today, which is why I'm at a B+, but I think the highs were so high to where you see the upside of what Julian Sayin could be. And like Stefan was saying, the upside there is he's in New York in December.
Is this the best quarterback in the Big Ten?
As of right now, I'd probably say yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It's him, Aller, or Moore.
Who's the best quarterback in the country right now?
Am I allowed to say him, Aller, or Moore?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, those three are probably in the conversation. I think Nussmeier's, as we're recording this, he's not having the best game against Florida, but he looked pretty good against Clemson. So, Nussmeier's probably in that conversation, but those three are pretty good options.
So just as we do these.
John Mateer at Oklahoma has looked really good.
Okay. We do these after we talk today in players after the game. So there's almost this, we reacted to the game. That's our buzzer story. And then we talk to people, and we've also had like 30 minutes to kind of come back down to earth from whatever hyperbole you're at when a game ends, right? You said something. You said, this looks like a young quarterback taking his lumps. I don't think they're lumps. I just think he's young and talented, and he knows it. And so sometimes he's going to do some things because he's feeling a little dangerous.
Woke up feeling dangerous.
But is that bad if he picks his spots better? Because I asked him off to the side after he got all the way from the podium, did you see the spy? Because Ryan Day said there was a spy on the first interception. So I said, did you see the spy? He's like, yeah, I saw the spy. I just thought I could fit it over him. Okay, if he couldn't...
Who among us hasn't done that in college football, 25 or 26?
But, like, he's good enough to actually fit it over them. So, okay, fine. I think you almost live with that. I'm trying to compare it to the other elite quarterbacks they've had. Justin Fields, his legs are a superpower, which is why when he was here, there was times when it felt like he was leaving the pocket early, holding on to the ball too long, and he was taking some sacks. He's the only quarterback they've had here who's been sacked more than 20 times in a season. And that's because there were a lot of times where he was holding on to it, big game hunting. C.J. Stroud, that first interception that Julian Sayin had, that's a C.J. Stroud interception where it's like, that's a small window. I probably shouldn't throw it, but I'm me, so I'm going to throw it anyway. And 9 times out of 10, it's a completion. It was all the other times. He had 7 incompletions today and 3 touchdowns, and his touchdowns are awesome to people. So, okay, fine. Don't do that anymore. But also, it's more just pick your spots better. The second one he explained was he felt the pressure. He probably should have just eaten the sack. But he thought he could get loose and make something happen. Unfortunately, he didn't make something happen. I'm with you guys. I'm saying all that to say a B+, but I almost gave him an A- because his answers for his mistakes were the most, I did it because I'm me. And I might be the best quarterback in college football. So, okay, cool. You live with, if 9 times out of 10, when I'm me, it's the greatest thing ever. You're saying he doesn't need to be Superman, but I think he can be. Yeah. So because of that, if 9 times out of 10, it's fine. If you can control when you do the one and you don't let it kill you, that was the problem with Will Howard. It was killing him last year. And with Kyle McCord, it was killing him. As long as you get better at understanding that you can't do it every time and be smarter about that, I think this offense is going to, from his standpoint, is going to be perfectly fine.
Yeah, no doubt. And you know, when we talk about him looking like Superman out there, which, by the way, did you guys see the Michigan Batman thing? Yeah. And then Ohio State comes out, posts a picture, calls him Super Saiyan. Yeah. We got a little battle of the Justice League going on. I don't know where I was going with that. The point is, Julian Sayin's really good at quarterback, and what is spectacular is sometimes pretty routine to him because of that level of accuracy that he has. And you talk about kind of listening to his explanation on some of the mistakes. Game 1 against Texas, where he throws that 4th down to Max Clear, and everyone on TV's seeing Jeremiah Smith react, and why didn't you throw it deep? But the moment he came back to the sideline, Day said that they looked at the tablet, and Julian Sayin was basically, explained what he saw with the safety, and Ryan Day was like, hey, I guess that makes sense. So, like, every mistake that he's made, or at least the ones that we've talked about with him and with Ryan Day, there's been an explanation for it, and that's okay.
Because even he missed Donaldson over here, which probably would have been a touchdown, and he missed Brandon Dennis. But the route he's running, he's locked it on JJ. Yeah. So is he supposed to get his eyes all the way turned around to Brandon Dennis on the other side of the field? And CJ Donaldson was a block and release. So that's almost last-minute type of things. It's not a part of his read progression. Neither of you are wrong. It's just, I think if these are his problems,
are they really problems?
Yeah.
They're more nuisances than they are problems.
They're just, I'm 19 years old and I'm awesome, and I got to learn to reel it in every so often because I'm young and don't know any better. Yeah. But I'd rather that be his problem than it be something that he can't fix, because that's an inherent problem. This is not an inherent problem. This is a young quarterback who's out here trying to figure it out for the first time. Get the text 614-350-3315. See, even us, it's the first 3 weeks. We're all trying to figure it out right now. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Ohio State $39. Ohio Wait, what was
37.
37 to 9.
37.
It's late, okay? We're not used to night games. We're used to the noon
okay,
games.
they turned off
They
the
did
video
turn it off.
board.
They did. We're used to noon games, not the night games. 37 to 9. Ohio State beats Ohio to go 3-0, heading into its first bye week. Go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. Stefan, Andrew, I'm Steven, and I'm going to go get in my improvement week just like Julian Sayin is. See ya.